we said earlier, initially the bill was you had 3 45 and 90-day commitments before you could revoke. A separate part of the statute said you could do 10 lockups in the county jail per probation period. And the prosecutors were concerned that with that 10 in the county jail and then 3, that you'd never exhaust that. That you'd have ACC would lock them up in the county jail for 44 days, and that wouldn't count as a commitment. Now, that was never our intent. I don't think that would ever happen, but it was a legitimate concern. So then we began talking about how do we alleviate that concern. And based, as Bob said, a lot of numbers were floated, and eventually in the last week, and they've spent the weekend looking over it and voted last night, that it would be 6 total, 4 county jails and 2 commitments. After the second 45-day commitment or 90-day commitment, whatever the case may be, they're subject to revocation. Or 6 total commitments, whether that be in the county jail or an ACC facility, they're subject to revocation. So what changed was it went from 10 and 3 to 4 and 2. And then we added language, as Bob mentioned, on the prosecutors will be notified of every commitment, including a county jail lockup. And the reason why, so that they can make a determination in this catch-all whether or not the person's a threat to the community.
Thank you. Bob, I have another question, a couple more if you don't mind, Mr. Chair.
Let me ask something.
Yeah.
Representative Tucker, did you have something to add?
I was just going to say exactly what Senator Hutchinson said.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, continue.
Appreciate that. I think that answered my questions. Bob, also last week, I know that there were some meetings that went on. Can you tell me, did anyone hold your particular funding bill hostage?
Senator, our deputy prosecutor salary bill was held up in joint budget, but there were no promises made by anybody to release that based upon our agreement today.
I didn't hold anybody's budget, if that's what you're getting at.
No, I wasn't asking you. I was asking something of him, but thank you for telling us that. I appreciate it. But you did have meetings last week that talked about your budget?
No, ma'am, the meeting that we had last week specifically talked about this.
Only this, okay. And there are other people that are not here today. Do you have people in your group that you think would like to discuss this maybe tomorrow if this meeting had been held on the day it was promised to be? I mean, this bill presented?
Well, Senator, there were prosecutors that were prepared to come tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure what they would be testifying to, since we had agreed to, to be neutral on the bill. But if they were here and you had questions for them, I'm sure they would answer them. But it would be my understanding if they were here right now, they would still have me saying that, we would be neutral, because that's in fact what we voted on.
Thank you. And then I guess when we're looking at this bill, there's another bill that's filed, and I want to ask for our county judges, if you don't mind. And there's one here, maybe he can tell me how it affects my district. But on this bill, the changes that are made, how does it affect the counties and the cost to the counties? There's another bill that's been filed that we're going to have to deal with. When Act 570 came about, it was all in one bill. It was called a Safety Act, and it was no more a Safety Act than nothing. And I was one that spoke against that bill on the House floor. It was a horrible bill. But I guess when I look at the bill that's filed that could affect how all of this works, and that is lowering or changing the felony levels, can you tell me how this bill doesn't change those? And so in a minute, Senator Rich, I was going to say, on that bill that I know you're aware of, how does that bill affect anything that goes on here today and how you put people in jail? And who's in to you, Bob?
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that last part of that question?
The bill that's filed that's going to make changes that Senator Hutchinson filed that's coming, did you? I apologize. Well, I'll get, if we change the way we put people in jail in a bill that's been filed recently, you know what I'm talking about. Prosecutors have mentioned it.
Are you referring to the bill that would amend the target offenses?
That we deal with this bill, that would kind of go with this bill, right? With the changes?
Well, if I'm understanding the bill you're asking about, it would amend the definition of target offenses, which would include things that are not currently target offenses, which would allow individuals to be housed in ACC facilities that might, or go through programs that might otherwise be eligible as the bill reads right now. For example, there are some felony drug offenses that currently an individual would not be categorized as a target offense, but if that bill were to pass, it does make changes there and would increase the number of drug felonies that would be eligible to be a target offense. So I'm assuming that's the bill you're referring to.
Okay. And I've got one after a while, when let someone else, they'll have a few more, but I would like to ask county judges if this bill has any effect on them in their counties. Thank you.